Howdy, folks, and welcome back to another Hookwork. As you guys know, our goal here with Hookwork is just to help you catch more and bigger fish. There's no umps to music. There's no smoke machines. We want anglers to be as real as possible because that's what helps you guys. No ShamWow stuff. I say that, but if we start talking hooks, you know I'm going to go a little ShamWow. Without further ado, let's bring in Luke Ruth. Luke, how's it going?
It's going out here, getting some stuff ready. Got a big tournament this weekend, and just kind of getting the boat ready.
So there's so many different things I want to pick your brain about. But first and foremost, the thing that I just want to say I really appreciate about you is you are what you get. You are what you see. You know what I mean? When you watch your videos, I think that's one of the reasons why you have such a big following on all platforms. There's a lot of folks that are big on TikTok, but they can't get a following on other platforms. I think it's the realness. Have you always just not paid attention to having a filter? You just always kept it real? Has it always been that way for you?
Yeah, it's been that way for me since day one. I decided when I started this, I wanted to be me for better or worse. And that was kind of the path I went down. And I knew there was going to be bumps with that path, but I thought that was the best for me. I didn't have to act some way I'm not. I didn't have to go out and do a bunch of stuff I wasn't. I just had to be me. So that's easy to do every day. And I get to do what I love. I get to do some fishing, hang out with my family, and social media stuff. The social media stuff's actually gotten a lot harder since I got 2 little ones now, but we're still chugging along through it. And one day I think it'll get a little easier again. We'll be able to get back to some more exciting stuff.
It's pretty dang exciting to hear somebody talk from the heart, you know what I mean? Because it's one of those things. You get folks that all they care about selling product and all the rest of the stuff, which is a part of it. I'm not saying it's not a part of it. But it gets watered down, and your content's never watered down. And one of the things that we've talked about since the beginning is it's like, I really, really urge you to just be you. And I remember the first time I told you that, you're like, yeah, dude, that's who I am. It's always who I'm going to be.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's easy. You see, there's some people online that I think are not genuine. And I feel like I can see through pretty easy. Like I can tell, but I mean, hey, they're successful too, doing what they're doing. I just think the burnout's a lot faster when you're not being you. I feel like the burnout, it comes a lot faster. So.
Well, if you got to put on a mask.
Takes everything.
Yeah, well, if you got to put on a mask of any degree, it's like, are you really a stick, and do you love fishing as much as you act like you do? You know what I mean? That's one of the things that draws me to passionate anglers like yourself, is it's like we can spot our own. If you could sleep well before a tournament, or you don't wake up early before you're going fishing or whatever, or you know me, I'm nuts, dude. Like if your brain has got 20% for other stuff, you're not cut from the same cloth as some of us are, and that's one of the things that I really, really, really appreciate about your content. And the other part of that is you are a stick, period. Like the content stuff is fantastic, but there's a lot of folks that they'll work for 10 hours on a private pond to put a couple fish in the live well, and then they'll hold them up like they're heroes. You put your money where your mouth is, and you go out there on tournament trails, and you cash checks. Has that always been the case? How long have you been fishing tournaments?
Yeah, no, I was a tournament fisherman way before I had social media at all. I didn't pick up a bass rod till 20. I guess I'm getting a little further into this now that I'm getting older. 2016, I picked up. I was like 20, 22, 23 before I picked up my first bass rod. And we just crappie fished before then. Grandpa always crappie fished. We didn't fish for nothing else. We purple and white hair jig and a Zebco 33. That's all we ever did. And I had a buddy that got into it, and we were out crappie fishing one day, and it was kind of slow. And he said, I think I'm gonna try to catch some bass. I said, that's stupid. We're out here catching crappie. Like, why are we trying to catch bass? And he caught one on a crankbait, and he goes, there's a tournament this weekend. We ought to get in. I said, we don't know anything about bass fishing. Like, we know nothing.
Yeah.
We go out, I go get a bait caster. I can't even hardly cast the thing. We catch like 1 4-pounder. We don't do any good. But I had a lot of fun. I had a ton of fun. And I said, you know what? There's another one next weekend. We ought to come back. We come back the next weekend. We catch 18 pounds, and it's been history ever since. And I was hooked, and we ended up getting a win. And from there on out, it's just bigger and bigger and more often and more often. So that's basically the story.
That's all. Well, and the cool thing about the area that you live in, one of the things about being a tournament angler is iron sharpens iron. For the most part, we can only grow as much as the people push us to a certain degree, right? So, if you're fishing an area against 15 boats and 10 of the guys don't fish, tip to tip on the tournaments, yeah, you're always going to do good and you're not going to be pushing yourself. I get a feeling that the tournament trails that you fish in are loaded with hammers. Is that correct?
Yeah, some are. Fish the Solo Series Top 100 around here. A lot of great fishermen fishing that. I've never been big into the BFLs and stuff. I don't like all the processes you have to go through, and the payouts aren't very good. So I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of team and solo regional circuits around here that pay good money. We never have to leave 2 or 3 hours at the house, and we can just fish those. We don't have to chase the BFL. Or I fished some Toyotas back in the day after my kid came along. That kind of put the kibosh on that, just because I only get 2 weeks vacation from work. So
yeah,
if you're going to get anything done with family, like, I don't have that much vacation to take off. I'd love one day to get back and fish the Toyotas and stuff and just see how I stack up. It was my first year. I cashed a check. I had a couple bad events, but I learned a lot, and I was ready for the second year. And then life happened, so I was just I'm just thankful that, I could have the opportunity one of these days. I'll do it again.
That's awesome. So what's 2 questions? Okay. What's your biggest accomplishment in the tournament world? And then the second question, what's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you in a tournament?
My biggest accomplishments. Man, I have a hard time answering that one because I don't hold up to my own accomplishments a lot of times. I've never won a championship solo, like by myself. I've won some team championships. I'd say the funnest thing I got to do is go fish the Bassmaster Team Championship. We finished 8th in that event. That was like our second year fishing. So that was one of the funnest things I can remember going and doing. But I tend to be that guy that finishes 2nd, 3rd, 4th a lot, and I'm trying to fix that. Like, I know it's just one decision here or there that's going to push me up over the top, and I can't wait till the day I actually figure that out, because I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
and
I've got 3/3 this year. I feel your pain.
Yeah, I was started the year this year in the Solo 100. I zeroed at Lake of the Ozarks, but half the field zeroed. It was a terrible bite. And then I missed the next one, then got 3rd, 12th, and 3rd. So, I'm just trying to figure out a way to get one of these won. I want a 1st place trophy. I'm tired of 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place trophies.
I feel your pain, and it's interesting that you say it's a couple adjustments and I'm trying to figure it out. I've always felt, and this might be me giving myself a pass when I shouldn't, but when I've won tournaments, dude, it's almost like you can't do any wrong. It's like it's just when it's your time, and the goofy stuff. Like there was one tournament where I'm throwing a walking bait, I get a little bit of a backlash. I'm going to pick it out, and I get popped. It was just that kind of deal where it wasn't even moving. You know what I mean? It's like when it's your time, it's your time. But I love the mindset of always improving, always trying to get better. I got close. How can I get further? Now, the second question, which I'm assuming you got a couple stories here. Craziest thing or things that have ever happened in a tournament to you?
I had a fish jump in my boat one time. We were leading one of our bigger team championships around here. I think there was 250 boats in it. We caught almost 24 pounds and was leading after day one. That's back. I had a little Z17. I didn't have my boat I got now. And we had like a 30, 45 minute boat run where there's a 4-hour fog delay. We're going to have like 4 hours to fish. And I said, nope, we're sticking with the plan. We're going to run down there. We ran down there. Fish weren't biting. Start working our way back. And we got like 10 minutes left till check-in. We got 4 small fish. And I'm like, man, I'm just thinking, well, we pissed this down our leg, and we're going down this little bluffier bank throwing a chatterbait. And about that time, something hits me in the side of the leg. And I kick in the floor of the boat. And I said, well, there's number 5. And my partner goes, well, good job. And he goes, I didn't see you catch him. I'm like, I'm not. My bait's I'm still reeling in halfway back to the boat. And he goes, what's funny is we had dinner last night. My father-in-law prayed that fish would jump in our boat today. And I said, well, he was right about one thing, is that one jumped in the boat. I didn't catch him. So
A limit from the heavens.
That's the craziest thing that's ever. I've had some funny stuff, some crazy, but that to me, like to actually have a fish jump and hit me in the leg, is just so weird. But I'll take them where I can get them.
That's right. I know you're right on that one. So another question I have for you, and this might be a little controversial. I don't mean it to be, but it's something I've observed from watching your content. Forward-facing sonar. So right now, at least 18 people just exhausted as soon as they heard me say that. But forward-facing sonar, very polarizing. It seems that folks are either on one side or the other. You seem to be pro-fishing community, pro-anglers. You don't draw a line in the sand. If you can flip a jig, you're going to flip a jig, and you love doing that. But if you got to toss on a minnow and look at forward-facing sonar, you will, and you're proficient with both. How did you come to that mindset of, you have an abundance mindset, you don't have a scarcity mindset, meaning I don't think you go, well, you have to think my way and that's the only way to think. You definitely have a unique mindset. How did you come to that conclusion? And dude, you articulate it well.
I just feel like I'm going to fish no matter what the rules are. So whatever the rules are, I'm going to fish with inside that set of rules. If that's using scope, cool. If that's not using scope, cool. Like it doesn't affect me because I took the time last winter. I probably spent, and didn't spend as much time as any of these other kids get out and go fishing, but I spent hundreds of hours out learning scope, playing with it, because I was always good with it, jerk baiting, A-rigging, but the minnow deal always eluded me. I could never catch them on a minnow. Well, I come to find out the lake I normally fish, not good for a minnow bite. They don't hardly bite it there. So I went, down to Table Rock, Bull Shoals, places that it's known for, and I learned a lot in a short period of time just from being around. And I was around a couple people that were very proficient at it and got to see it go down a time or two, and then it started clicking in my head like, okay, this is what you're looking for. This is what you need to do. And, after that, it made it a lot easier for me. But I spent, by myself, I spent hundreds of hours out practicing, trying to get better. Just because I know we always have tournaments that set up like that. So that's something, if I learn and I understand, then I'll always at least have a shot to do good in those tournaments. If I never wanted to learn it, I might as well paid my entry fees and never showed up.
Yeah. Well, in the second half of that is again, you don't make people choose that when you're communicating with them. It's one of those things. So much of the fishing world now is divisive. It's if you don't think my way, you're no good, you're not worth anything. You communicate that, at least this is my interpretation. Dude, if you like fishing, I like you. Come watch my videos. I'll help you any way that I can. That's it.
No, that's where I am. I'll teach some scope stuff. I'm not the best at scope, but I'll articulate what I know how. If it's shallow water fishing, jig flipping, I feel like there was a bunch of secrets. Now I feel like there's less and less secrets. And, the people like on social media, especially, like if you want to get some people to follow you, you have to give up some juice. You got to help them out. If you're just giving generic, throw black and blue when it's cloudy, throw green, like they've heard that a million times. You got to give away a little bit of juice if you want some people, if you want to show your trust in people. And the funny thing is, a lot of those videos are my least viewed. But some people that really pick up on it, they'll send me messages weeks later and go, hey, that tip really helped me out. Thank you. And I'm like, yeah, no, for sure. That's what it's there for. But those are some of my least viewed videos. Yeah. So I think maybe people consuming content on social media, if they, maybe we shouldn't be so fast to scroll. Maybe we should give the video a second, try to listen to what the person's saying, because you might learn something that's really going to help you out.
Yeah, that's with our internal videos, one of the things that you always think about is, okay, I know with the algorithms and stuff, you got to have 18 jump cuts in the first 4 seconds and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, dude, if you're teaching, you got to teach. You know what I mean? So I love that you take the time to provide value to all your fans. You know what I mean? And I just dig that. Now to the nitty gritty of the fishing stuff. I get an idea that you love power fishing. If you can pitch a jig, you're going to pitch a jig. TK 130 fan. But one of the things that I've noticed in a lot of your recent videos when you're talking about a big worm, you lean heavily on the 125, correct? The TK 125 with the magworm keeper?
Yeah, the magworm with the keeper. I've said it wrong a couple times and said it was a 110, but it's a 125. Yeah, no, that's the one I really, really like.
All right, talk me through a setup right now that you would use with the 125 And with this one, like the hook is a part of it. We know it's a part of it, but give folks the same thing. Give them the juice on how they can catch fish right now. I'm assuming we're talking big worm, but I know that we're getting right up on the heels of that transition too.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking big worm, but, also we're talking little worm. We're talking, 7-inch worms. And that's a big juice that I've been giving up is everybody wants to throw a 10-inch worm. A 7-inch worm with that little curly tail gets a ton of bites in the same place as a jig or a big worm does. It's just something different. Not a lot of people see a 7-inch worm. When you get a bite on it, you land 95% of them. It's a very proficient bait. You can throw it on a lot of different sinker sizes, 1/4 ounce up to a 1/2 ounce weight. And it's really a lot of my confidence. I had an old man that showed me the 7-inch worm around here, and I kind of scoffed him off. I'm like, well, we throw 10-inch worms. And he goes, well, one of these days, 10-inch worms aren't going to work, and you're going to need a 7-inch worm.
Yeah.
And, man, my boat never doesn't have a bunch of 7-inch worms in it now because I have the utmost confidence. I pair that 125 4/0 with a 3/8 ounce weight and that 7-inch worm. I'm going to be able to put me a limit in the boat and sometimes some really good ones.
Yeah, as soon as you open that power worm package, I could smell it, and I'm in Colorado. Like there's something about, dude.
There's some things that are nostalgia in fishing, and that's definitely one of them.
1,000%. I don't want to go too deep on this because I'm so interested in you, but when I was a kid, growing up in Colorado, nobody associates Colorado with bass fishing. I would read in Fisherman, and one of the things when power worms first came out, or I first was aware of them, maybe that's a better way to put it, but I remember going to Kmart, I got a pack of power worms and laser sharps, and I'll never forget when I opened the package, I was like, oh, that stinks. And then I go, maybe it doesn't. And then I just kept smelling it. And that summer, believe it or not, dude, it took me all year to start landing fish on a weightless plastic worm. I was getting, little bluegill nips or whatever, but it's that thing that that accomplishment at the end when I finally stuck one. As soon as I saw that package, that's what I thought. I thought about Croak Reservoir. Nobody here is going to know what I'm talking about, but yeah. So my second question is, when you're talking jigs, you're talking worms. Actually, dude, in your content, you do a little bit of everything. Talk to me a little bit about finesse fishing and when you do it, because that's one thing I don't see as much from you.
No, I'm not a big finesse guy. I do love throwing a wacky rig around the spawn. I'm a big fan of throwing a wacky rig, and I like throwing like a big pink Senko, like a 6 or 7-inch pink Senko. They're kind of hard to find, but I like to throw those. I feel like they entice those bigger fish when you're throwing it up around the beds and stuff. But I like the I got it in here somewhere. I think it's just the finesse with the Pro V, the number 1.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, that's my favorite. I got just a bunch of those. I got some of the weedless ones. I got some of the regular ones. I keep them both in here. And let me find here, wacky. I've been throwing the one with the keeper a lot lately, and I will throw them out in brush piles a little bit. The weed guards do help them come through brush. Let me get it right here in the camera. There we go.
Yes,
the weed guards do help it come through some brush. And I'm just not big on it. I mean, I always got it tied on, but it just seems like I never have to pick it up. So if I don't have to pick it up, I just keep throwing what's working.
Yeah, there's something about, see, living in Colorado, I finesse fish a ton, so I lean heavily on a drop shot and stuff like that. But knowing what your strong suits are and sticking to them, even when you go through a little bit of a drought, because you're so proficient at it, like with you and a jig, or I've been following your progression with swim baits. Tell me a little bit about those swim baits, dude, because it seems like you've fallen in love with them.
Yeah, it's a bad addiction. Like I thought I could never like a bite as much as I like a frog bite, but a glide bait bite's getting up there. I mean, they're just super awesome. They just allow you to draw fish from places that you didn't know the fish were, and you can trigger them to bite. And I started out with the Eco, which is clutch swim bait. It's $95, and I caught my PB and won a championship last year on this thing. I caught a 783.
Awesome.
Just a fish catcher. I mean, it just gets bites. You can fish it fast, fish it slow. It's to me, a glide bait is the new school spinner bait. if that's the way I was going to put it for me. Because I throw that eco, if I'm wanting to throw a spinnerbait and the water's got some clarity to it, I'm just going to throw it like I would a spinnerbait. I'm going to throw it down the side of a log. I'm going to work it. And, you know, you can keep it in one place longer. It kind of, I think a rate of stall is a big deal. People don't talk about in fishing a lot, and that's what a glide bait allows, is a rate of stall. But then you get around the springtime, you know, and like this year, I'd never thrown it a lot. I got the boss, the big one, you know, I got to catching a bunch of fish on it, and I just realized how far you could draw fish and how effective it was. Now, I mean, I'd always catch them, but I could see them. But if you see them, you were never going to throw this back in there and catch them. So you may have had to wait. You may have had to wait a couple hours, come back to that log, and maybe I'll flip a jig in there, and maybe I'll catch him, you know. So they just allow you to have a lot of information on the water, especially fishing shallow, that you can't get from technology.
Yeah, no, I love that. Years ago, I used to take a Depths 250 when I would pre-fish, and I would throw it up shallow just to show me where fish were. Because even if they wouldn't smoke it, they would always follow it. So like you said, going back a couple hours later and fishing a log, worst case scenario, fish show you where they are. Best case scenario, you stick them, and like you said, what'd you say, you caught a 784 in a derby?
Yeah, 784 in a derby.
That's so sick. My next question. See, this is neat, especially when you watch somebody's content a lot. Like, I feel like I know you probably better than I do because I watch a bunch of your stuff. But where do you see yourself? This is a super tough question that you'd never think that would come from a fishing podcast. Where do you see yourself 10 years? In 10 years?
I don't know, man. That's an odd question. I try not to think that far ahead. Right now, you know, we got 2 kids. I got a little house. We're trying to get added onto our house here. I think that's going to happen. You know, I never see me putting down the fishing rods. I don't know. I've never had older kids, so I'm sure that entails a lot of ball games and practices and stuff like that. I know I want to be there for my kids, but also at the same time, I don't want to give up everything I've worked for in the fishing world. So I'm going to have to find a fine balance between the selfishness and being there for my kids. But at the end of the day, I'll always be there for my kids and make it work. But, you know, it may be, hey, Dad's going to fish a derby and run to your basketball or softball game afterwards. Yeah. Like, it may be hectic, but I'm going to make it work, and I'm going to do everything I can. I don't know. I work at a grocery store with my family. It's where I've worked for a long time. And I keep thinking maybe there's something else out there for me, maybe, a marketing or social media job with a company. But then I start to thinking, well, you have your own way. So if they don't like my way, then they're probably not going to like what I have to do. So I don't know what's out there. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing and see where the old world takes us.
Well, good man for thinking about the family first. And I'll tell you, the fishing industry needs more folks like you. We need more sticks. And I see a trend happening in that with getting more sticks. So I'm sure if you keep doing what you're doing, good things are going to continue to come. And now I got to bring it back around to hooks. TK130. Well, actually, first, I got ahead of myself. I have to say, while I'm talking to you, I have to bring up my good buddy, Sam Heckman, because Sammy said, he sent me a text, and Luke, I don't know, it was 2 or 3 years ago, something like that now. He said, you have to check out this guy, Luke. You have to check out his content. Eric, he's funnier than heck. You have to check out his content. I said, Sammy, if you said something, trust me, I will look into it. And then when I went to your page, I was like, oh, dude, I already follow him. Like, so it was super, super easy, but Sammy is kind of the conduit that put us together, and when I found out that you already fished Trocar, it was so stinking perfect. So Sam Heckman, Colorado legend, Trocar, bro staff, lifer, one of the best on the planet, salty of the earth kind of guy. Sammy, thank you for bringing us Luke. Now, the hook question. TK130. Just give me your thoughts on the TK130.
It's the best flipping hook of all time. I mean, I've used a lot throughout the years. I've used other brands, and they've had some problems. But day in, day out, when I went back to buy one, like I'd always buy one of them to try, and I'd buy a pack of Trocars. And when we got to flipping, after about the first something had to go wrong with them, I'd go back to the Trocars. So that's just dependability. I know it's always going to be there. I know what I'm going to get every single time. It's my favorite flipping hook ever. I would not flip a lure in a bush on any other hook besides the Trocar TK130.
See, I shouldn't say this, I should not say this because I don't know if we'll be able to put this out there, but you damn right. I love that, dude. I love that. I love that. Luke, it's been awesome like I knew it would be. Is there anything that you want to leave the audience with? I always ask folks this on hook work. I don't care if it's a life tip, a hook tip, a fishing tip, or just something in general, a little bit of juice for the folks watching this.
Yeah, I would say my number one tip to the people watching out there is there's a lot of people like me in the world that you can resonate with. It may not be me, but there's a bunch of people out there creating content that can give you advice, or you can follow along and follow their journeys. Try to find somebody that you resonate with, follow their journey, be supportive. I got people I like, Jake Bagwell, he's a buddy, but before he was a buddy, I followed him, and Jake's got a good story. Dude's had some health issues and he's fishing. Like, there's a bunch of people out there with great stories. And before you just scroll past everybody's stuff on social media, like, give them a try to understand where they're coming from, learn about their life. And if that's something you're interested in, hop in front of the camera. There's nothing scary about it. Worst thing you're going to do is screw up, and you can do it over again. So don't think everything's got to be perfect. This is an imperfect life we live, and take a chance. It might do something for you.
Abundance. I love that. I love that. And Jake just did a wobblehead video where he was using a trocar. Go ahead and give us a holler, good buddy. Go ahead and give us a holler. Luke, we appreciate it a ton. We'll give everybody your links, but most of the people watching this are probably already following you. And just thank you for being you. And I interrupted you. You said something about Jake. I don't want to cut you off.
No, Jake's a good old boy. Like, if you think, like, Jake's exactly the same as I am, family, lives in Mississippi, loves to fish, he works his ass off. And you can't, those people are hard to come by. There's a lot of people I feel like out, especially in the content world, that I feel like there are a lot of people that are faking it to make it. A lot of, like you said, a lot of pond videos, a lot of gimmicky videos. Like, Jake's one of those good old boys that he's going to give you some downright fishing tips that's going to help you catch fish, and he's just a good, solid dude.
Well, Jake, like I said, give us a holler, and you definitely got a shout out from multiple people on this video because you're doing it the right way. Until next time, guys, there's two kinds of fish hooks in this world: American made and the stuff you shouldn't be using. We'll talk to you next time.